So, our 18 coordinated universal path.
Is this frequency in use? This is Kilo India 5, Delta Oscar Golf, KI5DOG, and my name is David. My station is located in the Rio Grande Valley in Deep South Texas, and welcome! Welcome to this episode of 73 in the RGV. This episode is being recorded on Saturday, April 19, for online publication on Saturday, April 19, 2025. Well, welcome to this new podcast, and this podcast, 73 in the RGV. It's going to be a tool to kind of share information with everyone, whether you're a licensed ham operator or you were thinking about becoming a licensed ham operator, or you're just curious. You're more than welcome to join, listen, and I'm going to try to share information, again, from various sources throughout the area. Now, for those of you that don't know where the RGV is, or the Rio Grande Valley, if you look at a map of Texas and you go all the way down to the bottom, that's Deep South Texas. All right, so we're down there. And off to the corner, where it meets the Gulf of America, that is, if you've been keeping an eye on things, that's where SpaceX Starbase is located, down there at that little tip, down at the very tip of Texas. And so that kind of gives you an idea where we're at. We're down there. We're down there where all the fun is, and hopefully that's where it stays like that. But that's enough of that. Anyway, moving on. So I'm KI5DOG. That's my call sign. I am a technician class license ham operator or amateur radio operator. I took my test back in September of 2020 when all the fun and adventure was going on back then. And it's a 10-year license, so I'm halfway through. Now, I've seen and experienced various avenues of communicating and sharing information. All of them are good. But hey, what's one more avenue of information sharing and passing along information and answering some questions, especially for those of you that are on the fence about, well, should I do it? Should I not do it? Why not? You know, I've always wanted to do it growing up, and my father was in the military, so we traveled quite a bit. Then I joined the military, and I traveled quite a bit, so I never got a chance to just buckle down and do it. But finally, the opportunity arose, and I had some time to study, and I took the test, passed on the first go-around, so hey, if I can do it, you can too. So again, the purpose of the 73 in the RGV is real simple, is to let you know what's going on down here in the Rio Grande Valley of Deep South Texas, and what's going on in relation to ham radio operations or amateur radio operations. And with that being said, welcome. Now, we've got a lot to cover in this first episode, and it's also going to set the standard for future episodes and kind of the format we're going to take. So we're going to have a topic. Every episode's going to have its own unique topic. We're going to talk about getting tested, and again, maintaining your license, where you can transmit, what you can't, where you cannot transmit, depending on your license. We'll talk about that's very important. What type of equipment to use and what type of equipment, quote unquote, not to use. But hey, it's ultimately your pocketbook, and that's really where that's at. And with that being said, we'll cover those. And what else? Well, I've got a long list already. I've got like 35 topics. And we'll be doing this. We'll be doing these episodes right now, every 2 to 3 weeks, getting our feet wet, getting things going, and then we'll be picking it up to every other week. And ultimately, I'd like to invite everyone that's a ham radio operator or an officer of one of the amateur radio clubs in the area. Come on in, do a quick interview, talk about what's going on with your organization, what you're doing, what's going on, any special events, any special activities. And it's a lot of fun, and great stuff is happening all the time. Some of it doesn't get publicized. Some of it is on a grand scale, and it gets no publicity, which I do believe it should get some publicity. And there's others that are just always getting publicity, which is a good thing to keep the word out there. And that's the thing. The more we get the word out there, the better it is for our hobby and for what we do and our impact in the community. So again, 73 in the RGV is that vehicle. It's the latest vehicle. I'm not saying it's the only vehicle. It'll never be the only vehicle. I do not want it to be the only vehicle. I just want it to be the latest one right now. And there'll be more coming down the line. And a lot of great stuff, like I said, is happening. So again, little promotion doesn't hurt. Alrighty. Now, as for the title, 73 in the RGV. Now, 73 is a common shorthand in amateur radio communication. It's basically it stands for best regards. Best regards. So when I say 70, so best regards in the Rio Grande Valley. It is used to end a radio conversation or a Q code, QSO, politely. It's almost like saying goodbye, but instead we say 73. So best regards. That's what we've got going on. So ham radio operators here in the Rio Grande Valley. So that's what's going on there with that. Alrighty, let's see what's next. What is amateur radio? Well, amateur radio, real simple. It's licensed operators, and they're defined where they can transmit and receive. Well, you can receive signals everywhere, but where you can transmit, where you can key up your microphone, there are certain frequencies depending on your level of license. So it's amateur, right? There's general, and then there's the extra, the extra. And with that being said, we'll cover all of those. We'll go more detail a little bit further into the additional episodes. I do believe next episode deals with getting yourself tested. And with that being said, we'll get that under control. So with that being said, I'm a little nervous because it's the first go around. I want to cover all the bases. I've got like this long list of things that I want to talk about, but it's like, well, am I missing something? Am I doing something else? Am I skipping something? So again, pardon this. This will get better as I go along. Once the structure falls into place. Again, it's a rough outline, and it's not the definitive form of the show. Trust me. This is just that first time excitement, jitters, but we'll get them out of the way and we'll move on to the next episode. Alrighty. Now, so again, got to have a license to be a licensed amateur radio operator. You got to get tested. You got to train for that test. You got to learn for the test. You got to work, do a little studying, and it's not that difficult. Like I said, I got it on my first go around, and if I can do it, anyone can do it. All right. But what is not an amateur radio? Well, amateur radio again got to be licensed. So growing up, we had those walkie-talkies, right? The little G.I. Joe walkie-talkies and the different shapes. And sometimes you could even do some dial tones on them and things like that, but you really couldn't do anything else. Well, those walkie-talkies, I do believe they were like on the 27 megahertz frequency. They were very low. Channel 14 on CB radio. Yes, and CB radio, again, did not need a license for CB radio, CB Citizens Band radio. That's on the 27 megahertz band. We'll talk about that. That's the 11 meter band. We'll talk more about that as we go along. So, amateur radio, you need a license. Not amateur radio, you don't need a license. Now, can someone who does not have a license transmit on amateur radio? As a standard, no. In case of emergency, yes. It's just that simple. But it's got to be an emergency, and trust me. You misplace your car keys, may be an emergency to you, but not to everyone else. So again, no. So be careful out there. And we'll talk more about that as we get into it. And let's see. So we talked about what it is, what it isn't, what does 73 mean. So that's the topic. It's just kind of introducing you to what's going on. Now, as I mentioned, the next episode 2, will be Getting Started Means Getting Tested. That's the title of the episode, and we're going to talk about the study and what you need to do to get licensed. Now, that one, I'm going to cut it. I'm not going to make it 3 weeks. No, it'll be, if not next week, the week after. But I'm not going to go 3 weeks on that one. I'm going to go ahead and build it, and then we'll go from there. And so that takes care of the topic portion. That's a lot already. Now, upcoming events. There will be an upcoming events section, and we're going to talk about those. And again, various sources, and I will tell you where I'm getting this information. Right? So a lot of these are from the websites, the various club websites, and I'll share that with you. So information drawn from various web and social media sources. And of course, there is, if there's an event or a project or a program or testing dates on your schedule, if you know about it, maybe you're the testing, the examiner, let me know. Reach out to me. I don't mind. Let me know. I do not mind you sharing with me and sharing with everybody else. So feel free to drop me an email at KI5DOG. That's my call sign, KI5DOG at yahoo.com. KI5 ki5dog@yahoo.com. Now, let's get on with it. From the RIOARC.org website, the Rio Amateur Radio Club.org website, RIOARC.org website, the ARRL Field Day 2025. Yes, the 2025 ARRL Field Day is June 28th, 2025. Rio ARC will be at the Dixieland Park in Harlingen from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m. Look for the Rio ARC banner. So we'll talk more about Field Day in an upcoming episode. We got a little time, but start making your plans for Field Day, June 2028. Alrighty, also from the same RIOARC.org website, I'll get them. Breakfast every Wednesday at 8 a.m. at Los Leones in La Feria. That's Los Leones Restaurant in La Feria, Texas. 109 North Main Street, La Feria, Texas. Alrighty. Breakfast every Saturday at 8 a.m. at Tejano Grill in Harlingen. That's 803 South 77 Sunshine Strip in Harlingen, Texas. Join the Rio ARC. All right, from the W5RGV.org website. Again, that's a Whiskey 5 Romeo Golf Victor.org website. The Valley information on the Stars Link repeater system every day, 7 p.m. Central Time. All amateurs are welcome to participate. Now, if you're not a licensed amateur radio operator, well, you can listen to get a feel for what's going on. That's how I started. I actually had a little receiver, and I was able to tune in and listen. Alrighty. Also, let's see. The District 21 RACES Races Net. RACES. And we'll talk more about races and Aries in an upcoming episode. All right, the District 21 Races Net monthly on the first Wednesday of every month at 7:30 p.m. Central on the Stars Link repeater system. Alrighty, now from the Rio ARC, right? The RGV ARC. We already did Rio. From the RGVARC.org website, we have Rag Chew Monday, every Monday at 6 p.m. on the Rio Link repeater systems. Again, the RGVARC.org website. The District 3 AriesNet every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. on the Rio Link repeater system. And Simplex Sunday every Sunday. And that was what I heard, was a Simplex conversation when I had my first little monitor, or little radio there to listen on shortwave. Simplex Sunday every Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Central Time on 146.52 megahertz. Again, that's 146.52 megahertz, which is the national Simplex calling frequency in the United States for amateur radio. There it is. That's the 2-meter band. So again, tune in to get a feel for what's going on. You can hear us. You got to be in the area, though, because again, there's only a certain amount of distance that the Simplex can be heard, right? The signal can be heard. Alrighty. Now, this invitation. The following is an invitation. It goes out to all the technician, general, and amateur extra licensed holders that want to talk about amateur radio, their journey into the hobby, and anything else ham radio related. Please do not hesitate. Drop me an email at ki5dog@yahoo.com. That's ki5dog@yahoo.com. And a special note, a special invitation to amateur radio club officers or public affairs representatives to join me on this podcast to share their latest happenings, actions, and activities and events for their amateur radio club. And again, this is an open invitation. So just reach out again, ki5dog@yahoo.com. We'll figure out all the particulars. And next thing you know, you'll be on 73 in the RGV. And questions. I know you got questions. I know you have questions. I had questions going into this. I still have questions. And I do ask. So it doesn't hurt to ask. That's how we get answers. So if you got questions, we got answers. However, if I do not know the answer, I most definitely, absolutely, positively know the people that have the answers, and we'll reach out to them and we'll get you an answer. But again, don't hesitate. So if you're interested in getting started, not too sure what to do, well, come back next week. We're going to talk about that. And again, if you want to go further into detail, ask. And if I don't know the answer, like I said, I know people who have answers. Now, again, they're out there. They're listening. Alrighty. Lastly, that's it. That's the first episode of 73 in the RGV. And I want to thank you for joining us today. We hope you come back often. And don't hesitate. Now listen, I am returning this frequency back to regular amateur use. And until next time, this is 73 in the RGV, and I am KI5DOG. Clear on your final.